Hey everybody, happy spring. Josh coming to you here from Niagara Falls, New York. The birds are singing. It's a nice, cool spring day. 44 degrees right now, I think, but probably starting to warm up now that the sun's up. I'm here in front of our 2007 StarCraft Antigua Hybrid. When we bought it, we knew it needed some work done to the floor, but hybrids were super high in demand at the time. Because of COVID, everybody wanted to go camping. So campers in general were hard to find last year. We had a nice big pop-up that we absolutely loved, but we knew to feel comfortable going further distances, we would want a hybrid. So we found this one out of Rochester. The guy showed me a spot where it seemed a little soft, and we said it was fine. We're going to address it this year. Well, I have really dug into it, and it's worse than I hoped it would be, but not as bad as I feared it was. So I guess that's a win. Anyways, I wasn't going to record any of this because I was so overwhelmed by the sheer size of the job that I didn't feel like documenting it would be a worthy use of my time, and it was just too much. I wasn't ready to do it yet. But I've gotten to a point now where I am seeing what I expected to see, so I feel comfortable putting it on video now to share with you. If you ever do have to do this, don't cut corners or you'll end up doing it again. When the floors get wet because of either an access door or a leak or whatever, fix it right. You can't just patch out what's really, if it's really bad, you got to go for it. So here's what we're looking at. So we pulled out the dinette, we pulled out the couch, pulled out the access panel that goes behind the dinette at the end of the bunk, so that way I could get a fresh piece of wood all the way up into the nose. I was originally just going to patch one here, but because this is a hybrid and it's a lightweight one, there's not as much support under this as you would expect. There's basically anchor points. There's a chassis rail that comes under here and goes all the way up to the front, where the front of the axle, or not the axle, sorry, where the tow hitch is. So these rails go all the way up to the front, and other than that, there is no support in the middle here. So where the worst of the damage was, the previous owner said his kid jumped off the bed and they felt the floor crack, heard it crack. The insulation there is unsupported and it is damaged. So that's why I'm using this board to go from keeping my weight on rail and rail. So be careful where you're putting your weight if it's really rotted like this is. This whole front is. Originally I thought it was because of the vapor barrier under the front is loose, which is certainly not good. This is detached the whole way across. So anytime we're driving or anything like that, moisture is just going right up to the pan here. This is definitely wet, but I can't do a full, I'm not going down to the frame to restore this for what we got it for. We got it for a good price, so we're fixing it up the right way so it's safe for us to use, and it'll get us through the next 6 years before we're ready to upgrade to a bigger one because our kids are too big. Anyways, don't think about that now. While you're doing all this work, don't think of the next rig, think of this rig. Hot water heater got pulled out. I originally thought that vapor barrier was the source of the water, which it certainly is. But upon closer examination, there's a lot of water in front of that access door and a lot of water in front of this access door. So those definitely need to be resealed. Those seals have gone bad. I need to fix the vapor barrier underneath so no water's coming in. We ordered a new hot water heater because that one was really finicky. And if I have to pull it out to do the floor anyways, this is the time to get a new one. $350 on Amazon. Be here in 2 days. Rock on. But this, I did not think this part of the floor was wet, and it is. So that's very discouraging, but you can see it's not as discolored as the rest of it, so that's a good sign, I guess. But I'm doing a board at a time. I'll pull all this out, put a fresh full, 4 foot by 8 foot sheet of plywood in here. There's carriage bolts that'll be fed down through the board and bolted to the frame. That's how it goes down. I might put some, glue on the foam insulation to try to hopefully get that back into place and keep going from there. So this is just a quick overview of the absolute madness that we're dealing with, but it's worth it because the rest of the rig is in mint condition. And we love it. It's our new home. So I've got 1 week to do this whole thing. Pray for me. Well, bad news on the camper update. Had a piece of wood in here. Everything was looking good. And once I started working forward with it, I realized that the subfloor to the subfloor was totally shot. Conferring with some people through the hybrid camper group, they said, don't just stop at tearing off the top layer. The foam's going to be wet. What's underneath it's going to be wet. And sure enough, pulled it up all the way back to the underlayment here, the vapor barrier. And there's a big hole right there where water was coming in, and everything that was underneath, I mean, literally, it's paper. It's shot. So everything's got to come out. Everything, all the way back to the frame and rebuild from there. So, see you next summer. I wish I could explain just how bad this is. That's just a fabric membrane that's supposed to keep the water out, which is soaked with water. And this, I mean, you can see, this is supposed to be a layer of plywood underneath and then foam on top. And it's literally nothing. Pulled right up. The wood is glued to the back. It's totally rotted. What a mess. Paid $7,500 for this camper last fall, and it was bad investment. Time to make it right. Always check your sawhorses. Many of sawhorses have lost an eye from that. So just a quick look at this middle piece of flooring. I've got the nose done already. This next piece is cut around where it was particularly rotted. Eventually I'd like to replace the kitchen floor as well. But basically, piece of 1/2 inch pressure treated plywood on the bottom, which is on top of there's just still the membrane over the frame, and then I put down this plastic tarp to try to be an extra vapor barrier due to pinholes in the original vapor liner. Anyways, pressure treated plywood down, then a piece of 1 inch closed cell foam styrofoam insulation, cutting out, drilling up from the supports underneath. Drilling up through the pressure treated plywood, I'm able to get a marking for up top as to where the bolts feed through, and you don't want to ratchet onto the foam. So I cut out these blocks. I think they're 5.5 inches by 5.5 inches. It was the size of what was originally here. Just sandwiched 2 pieces together to equal an inch of the foam. Now we'll get that board from the driveway to go over top of this. And then we'll screw up through everything, bolt it down with lag bolts, and move on. Alright, so we've gone ahead and put that board in. Put glue down, fed the hoses through. So that's here. Then we went underneath, drilled up through that anchor point to find where the hole is. Hammered these carriage bolts down. This one here I recessed using a spade bit to drill it out a little bit because the flooring's going to go there and people are going to walk. And if that's raised up, it's probably going to wear through. So we'll make sure that that's nice and flat. Hammered the bolt down in so that it catches. Here it is. So now we'll just use a large 3/8 inch fender washer and a captive nut so we don't have to worry about it backing off as we go down the road. Can't really do both while holding the phone, but we'll tighten this up. One bolt here. This hole I added just for a little extra rigidity. Bolt that there, and then another one on the other side. And that's where I stopped recording. It was now Easter Sunday. I hadn't slept in 2 days and was leaving with my family on vacation in this camper the next night. I snapped a few photos, which you'll see here. Once the old flooring and foam were removed, I laid new plastic down as a vapor barrier over what was left of the existing one. A layer of plywood was put down first, with foam board glued to that, and then another layer of plywood glued down, and all of that bolted down into the frame. I took careful measurements and photos of everything as I went, and because the walls of the camper are separate from the flooring, I was able to just butt the flooring up to the existing walls. I ended up going with vinyl plank flooring on top, which was quick to install, but unfortunately has shrunk over time due to the extreme heat and cold temperatures the rig goes through. I would recommend going with a big roll of linoleum or vinyl flooring as opposed to the individual planks, which over time could show cracks and gaps. Sorry this video didn't have a better resolution, but take your time and give yourself more time than I gave myself and you'll be just fine. Good luck out there. Happy camping.